Okay. Today, World War II will begin. Um, and, uh, and what we're going to look at is, well, first, how did World War II start in Europe? And we're going to find out that, well, look, Hitler had plans to start this war before he was even leader. In the 20s, he had laid out his plans, and really what he wanted was what he called Lebensraum, I think, which means more living space. He says, look, our Germans are crowded. In the East, Russia, the Ukraine, Slavic people, he says, they're not that crowded, and really we're just so much better than them. We're going to go in there and take their land and um, make them slaves. This was his plan. He laid it out clearly. Um, so the German war plan had been set well before Hitler even took over. He gets elected, we learned, becomes chancellor. After the Reichstag burns down, he's made chancellor after the Reichstag burns down. And then when the president dies, he becomes the all-out leader, the Führer, the man in charge. And one of the first things he's going to do is try and fix what he thought were wrongs that had been done to Germany in the Treaty of Versailles. He claims the Germans, of course, are the Aryan race, the master race. They're better than everyone else. And what he's going to do is he's going to, at first, he's going to create an air force. This went against the Treaty of Versailles. Germany was not allowed to have an air force, but he does it. 1 week later, after no one says anything, he increases Germany's army from 100,000 to 550,000. Okay, so within 2 weeks here in 1935, he has now broken the treaty of the terms of the Versailles Treaty. Theoretically, England and France and you know the other countries could have attacked him. He was weak. His army was small. They could have taken him out. There would have been a war. Could have put back in someone else because, hey, you just broke the treaty of treaty agreements. But they don't. They say, you know what? I get it. He deserves an air force. He deserves a military. We're in the middle of the Great Depression. Don't bother us to fight another war. We just fought a war 15 years ago. No more, please. Go ahead, Hitler. Have your air force. Increase your army. Next, in 1936, he says, look, this area right here in this map that's called the Rhinelands had been declared a demilitarized zone. It was a way to keep the French safe from German attack. They said, look, just no military goes in the Rhinelands, okay? But Hitler says no. And in 1936, he's going to send his troops into the Rhineland, which was historic Germany. It was supposed to just still be Germany, just no military there, please. Theoretically, again, the French and the British could have now fought a war with him. He has had a year, though, to build that army. So he's much more powerful. And they say, no, he's just taking back what was his to begin. He's making some changes. No big deal. He then makes alliances with Mussolini, promising to help Mussolini as he invaded Ethiopia. Italy had long wanted Ethiopia. Ethiopia had defeated the Italians in the time of imperialism, and he says, we're going to get it. We're redoing the Roman Empire. Britain and France oppose this. Hitler supports it. He does it anyways. In 1936, both Italy and Germany send troops to Spain to help Franco. Franco is not really part of their alliance, but kind of, right? And 1 month later, in 1936, Germany and Italy signed the Rome-Berlin Axis. Germany, in November of that year, Germany and Japan signed a treaty stating that they would fight communism together. Who are they talking about? Who is in between them that's communist? Oh yeah, the Soviet Union, where Hitler had said, I'm going to take land from the Soviet Union. So we're starting to see a little bit of foreshadowing. The Japanese wanted more land. They said, look, we'll split. You guys can have the east half, we'll have the west half, and we'll move our Germans in. You can move your Japanese people in, take those natural resources, etc. In 1937, Germany. So this is all Hitler, right? Hitler, being aggressive. In 1937, Germany again was a world power. They had been building their military for the last 2 or 3 years, and they had stared down the French and the British. And now he says, I want Austria to be part of us. I'm Austrian. Hitler was Austrian, which is just so weird to me. I know that Austrians are Germanic culturally, and you may be religious, they're Catholic versus Protestant, but I'll never understand how someone from a different country can come in and take over your country, be elected in your country, and then do all of these things and lead you to war. But I digress. Austria agrees. They say, look, we're just going to let the Austrian Nazis take over. He's welcomed in Austria as one of Austria's sons, who now we have a united Italy, Germany, Austria, Japan in the east. In 1938, Hitler demands that part of Czechoslovakia be given to Germany. Now here is our map. Let me pull it up. Okay. Understand that there was no Czechoslovakia before the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles took Czechoslovakia from Austria. And what he says is, in this purple area here, the pink country is Austria. I'm sorry, is Czechoslovakia. But the purple part of this country are German speakers. When you guys drew the boundaries, you drew it wrong, and you took some Germans. And here in Czechoslovakia, what we have are people who are either Czech or they're Slovaks. Here's Slovakia. Here's the Czechs. Today, there are 2 countries, by the way, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. These people are Polish. Maybe England and Britain did a bad job in drawing these boundaries. Look, even there's some Ukrainians over here. There's some Hungarians, Czechoslovakia. A lot of the map drawing after World War I wasn't done well. So the British and the French have a big meeting. And famously, and this is when the term appeasement comes out, the British leader, this guy named Neville Chamberlain, he walks out of the meeting and he's like, I have achieved peace in our time. Hitler promised me that he doesn't want any more land, that this is all he wants. And if we give it to him, he'll be happy and we will have peace. He feels like he was wronged with the Treaty of Versailles, and now Hitler is satisfied. No, he will not be satisfied. And the rest of Czechoslovakia, this pink area and this Slovak area and maybe the border region, they say, you were supposed to support us, France and Britain. We feel left alone. In 1939, Hitler takes even more of Czechoslovakia. And France and Britain do nothing. They pretty much have accepted that this land will be taken. But they do say, listen, we're drawing the line in Poland. Britain especially says, if they invade you, we're coming in. Here's Poland. Poland was a historic country. Poland and interesting, Lithuania had this massive empire in Eastern Europe, like in the 13 and 1400s. Like they ruled all of this area. Incredibly powerful. They had been shrunk up. They had eventually been taken completely over. And after the Versailles Treaty, they gave Poland back its land. They said, you guys deserve to be a country again. Britain says, if they invade you, we'll fight them. This is where we draw the line in the sand, is in Poland. Now, this is kind of weird because this upper area of Poland was Prussia for hundreds of years beforehand. And the Germans are saying, you guys just did a bad job with the Treaty of Versailles. We want all of our land back. So the Germans then go to Russia, who had lost some of this land in the Treaty of Versailles that they called Russia. It's given to Poland. By the way, there is a Poland today that exists in this area. And Germany says, look, let's just make a non-aggression pact. And when we invade Poland from this side, you can invade Poland from that side. We'll split this land up and we can be bros, right? We can be buddies. Russia agrees. In 1939, Russia and Germany signed a non-aggression pact. And on September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland. On the same day, Britain and France declare war on Germany, and World War II has started. We're going to find that, like in World War I, the US does not get involved immediately. But unlike World War I, the US does not wait 4 years to get involved. And unlike World War I, the US does not fight 6 small months before the war is over. World War II is the bloodiest, most consequential war in world history. Only second place is World War I. Okay, so these sections we're studying are incredibly important. 50, 60 million deaths. Did World War II start because the Treaty of Versailles was so bad that ended World War I? Some of these, what about the Cold War that breaks out after World War II? Are these all connected to that document? And these are some of history's great questions.